Okay, so a while ago, a movie came out called Castaway, and Tom Hanks was in a FedEx plane, actually, and it crashed, and he was the sole survivor and then ended up on an island. And at the beginning, when he was on the island, he wasn't really good at finding food or figuring it out. But by the end, there was a scene where there's two fish. Oh, I can't draw fish. That were swimming in parallel manner, meaning just one right on top of the other like this. And he threw a spear and it killed both of them at the same time. And he was so proud of himself. By then he had really long hair, a beard out to here, and he got both of them at the same time, okay? Those fish were parallel. They were swimming in the same direction, one right under another, completely like 6 inches apart or whatever. And his spear went through both of them. When it hit fish number one, it hit fish number one at the same angle as it hit fish number two because they were swimming in a parallel way. Everybody understand that parallel is right like this? So what we're talking about today are parallel lines and transversals. That's the math way of saying it. But I call the transversals the spear. So you can think about how the spear is hitting the fish, okay? So there are a few ways that they can tell you that two lines are parallel. Either they name them with a little cursive letter like that, and in the problem they will say if L is parallel to M, that gives you the clue that they're parallel. You'll also see sometimes that they'll add an extra arrow like this, and that tells you that they're parallel. For the homework, everything I'm going to give you is parallel, so you're going to give me a couple of pieces of information, okay? And then the spear goes through it at this angle here. So the first thing I teach you guys is how to make your tick marks on the picture and what it all means. There are 8 angles. There's 4 here. And there's 4 here. Everybody see the 8 angles? Those 8 angles, whenever a spear hits 2 parallel lines, it creates 2 intersections of 4 angles. Can you see them? So since the spear hits both of those lines at the same angle, all the green angles are going to be equal, and all the red angles are going to be equal. So technically, they only have to give me one angle and I can find all the rest, okay? And we're going to do that next week. But what I want you to do is I want you to say, okay, the big one is 2 tick marks, so all the green ones here would be 2, and all the little ones would be 1. And I'm not going to give you any numbers today, but we're just going to deal with that. Hold on. So if I look at this, these 2 angles here, what do they add up to?
180.
180. So every 1 tick mark plus every 2 tick marks equals 180 degrees. Okay, so you can, with very little information, fill out the rest of the picture. And the only thing is that sometimes the pictures get a little more complicated. I'm going to draw another one. Now, when there's the parallel lines, you identify those, and sometimes they're going to draw them up and down and sometimes left and right, but most of the time they'll be left and right. But sometimes you got to look for them, okay? Who are the parallel lines? These 2 right here. You see that they're parallel because I have the extra arrow? They don't always have to tell you they're parallel. They can tell you with different little subtle marks on the picture. Now in this case, the green spear hits the parallel line in 2 places, and the red spear hits the parallel line in 2 places. Do you see that? And I usually use a square and a circle because not everybody has colored pencils at their disposal all the time. So on one of the spheres, I follow it into the parallel lines and I put squares, and the other one I put circles. Everybody get that? Do those two spheres hit the lines at the same angle?
No.
No, they're different lines. The only way they would be the same is if they too were parallel, and I'm going to draw that one in a second, okay? So since those two are not parallel, the green and the red, then they're two different systems. So in this case, this guy would be 1 tick mark. This would be 2. 1, 1, 2, 2. You understand that? And the green one, I'm going to use 4 tick marks and 3 tick marks. Because they're totally different, two different measurements in the first one. Do you see that? So on the green, any 3 tick mark plus any 4 tick mark equals 180. And on the red, any 1 tick mark plus any 2 tick mark equals 180. So in that case, they would have to give me an angle in the square side, the red side, and an angle in the green side in order for me to find all the other angles. Otherwise, I won't be able to find the other angles. You understand that? Is going to be 2 parallel lines again.
Oh no.
These two are parallel. And these two are parallel. In this case, all of the big tick marks are equal to each other. I'm going to make those 2. And all of the little tick marks are equal to each other, because both sets of lines are parallel. So the spheres hit the parallel lines in the same angle. So on this one, 1 tick mark plus a 2 tick mark equals 180. Okay. For all of these, we're assuming that the two lines that look parallel are parallel. The information I'm going to give you is only when the lines are parallel, and I'm really not going to give you problems where the lines aren't parallel, okay? So you're going to assume it. It really doesn't say it, but we're going to assume it. The first guy is alternate interior. So the alternate interior angles, you have the two parallel lines, and you have the transversal. Everybody get that? So in this picture, in every picture, they're all going to look the same. Every picture is going to look the same as this picture, but we're going to point out the alternate interior angles, okay? When you have the two parallel lines, you're going to look at the 4 angles, these 4 angles here. Let me mark them in blue. These 4 angles here are your interior angles. You look at them as the angles that are inside the parallel lines. Think about the house, the parallel lines being a house, the guys that are inside the house, okay? Those are the interior angles, and the other 4 are the exterior, outside of the parallel lines. Does everybody get that? So alternate interior angles, and I'm going to number these 1, 2, 3, and 4, is angle 1 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles, okay? The word alternate means one on either side of the sphere, across from each other, okay? They alternate. So 1 and 4, and who are the other 2 alternate interior angles? Angle 2 and 3 are alternate interior. Okay? I would say that between vertical angles, which we already learned, the ones on the X, and alternate interior angles, those are the two most important ones that come up in more problems than any other one. Okay? Every once in a while you get a corresponding, and that would be a harder question. But alternate interior, you've got to be able to identify them. Okay? Everybody understand how to do it? 1, cross the bridge and go to the other side, and 4. 2, cross the bridge and go to the other side, and 3. You see it? So when the two lines are parallel, these angles are congruent. And I'm going to put the congruent side next to them. All the exterior angles are the 4 on the outside of the two parallel lines. So whenever you see the word exterior, it has to be on the outside of the parallel lines, or outside, exterior. Exterior paint is the paint your parents use for the outside of your house. Interior paint is the paint they use for the kitchen and the bathrooms, okay? So if here is angle 1, 2, 3, and 4, who is angle 1 exterior, alternate exterior with? Angle 4. And angle 2, and angle 3. Do you see it clearly? Those, when the lines are parallel, are also congruent to each other. Okay, so corresponding angles. If you think of that picture as the sphere making two different intersections, you see that intersection and that intersection? A corresponding angle is the guy that's in the same position on the other intersection. So who's in the same position as angle 1 in 5? Very good. Angle 5. Somebody else. What about angle 2?
6.
Perfect. Somebody else. Angle 3.
5.
No.
Oh.
3 is bottom left. So go to bottom left in the other intersection.
7.
7. You see how I did that? And angle 4? And who?
8.
Angle 8. Bottom right, bottom right. Is anybody having trouble seeing that? 1 is top left, 5 is top left of its intersection. 6 is top right, 2 is top right. Got it? When the lines are parallel, these are also congruent. So far, everybody's been congruent. Same side interior. Oh, they call this consecutive interior. Okay. Consecutive interior. So if I have 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The consecutive interior, first of all, would be on the inside and on the same side of the sphere. Okay, so who's on the inside with number 2 and is in the same side of the sphere?
Wait.
Who's on the same side of the sphere on the inside of the two parallel lines with number 2?
The 5.
The 5. So in this case, those two are consecutive interior, and they add up to 180. They are supplementary. They are not equal. If you notice, the 2 is one of the small angles, and the 5 is one of the wide angles. You see it?
So 3, it would be 3.
Very good. So angle 4 and angle 6 are the other two pairs of consecutive interior. And they're also supplementary. They are not equal. They are supplementary. So I told you somebody was going to come and mess up the party. The last two are vertical angles. And vertical,
Did we write this one down?
yeah, because it looks different on this picture. Vertical angles are across each other on an X, right?
Yep.
So it's going to be 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 5 and 8, and 6 and 7. Everybody get that? They're across each other on an X. You've got to be able to see X's in your picture. They're going to show up everywhere. And all of those pairs are congruent to each other because any vertical angles are equal to each other. The last one is adjacent. And those are any two angles, and this is hard to list them all, there's a ton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any two angles on a straight line. So it would be 1 and 2, but it would also be 1 and 3. Can you see why 1 and 3 are on a straight line? On the green one? And it's 1 and 2, but it's also 2 and 4, and also 3 and 4. And what do we know about those angles? Do you think they're equal? Do you think 1 and 2 are equal, or do they add up to 180?
Wait, why are we doing 3 and 4?
So adjacent angles, since they're next to each other, we know that they add up to 180. So those two add up to 180. Those two add up to 180. These two add up to 180. And these two add up to 180. Got it?